Want to get this party started?
Let's do it.
Can I just say, before we start, that all I do, because I work on the treat system, is think about how I'm going to get to have... today we get to shoot our Patreon.
Yes.
And I get to have a glass of mezcal. And then
a glass singular?
Well, it's a big glass.
Okay.
And there's just one that I start.
Much like an aquarium would be a glass.
Yeah.
That's welcome to My Safe Word Is More. My name is Al Jackson. I'm joined by my incredibly lovely co-host, Corinne Kaplan. We've had a couple starts.
Yeah, this has been a challenging day.
That's the way a social worker would describe her day.
Yeah.
It's it's been challenging, but maybe that's
we're gonna turn it around right now.
Yeah. Oh, I've already turned it around. I'm with my girl, Corinne Kaplan. You got stuff going on. I got crazy amounts of stuff going on, including the fact that by the time you hear this, it'll be over. But I'm going to see my mama get remarried to the man of her dreams, Corinne. I can't tell you.
With the greatest name ever, Montez, Tezzy Poo.
Tezzy is in the building. A true Southern gentleman, the kind that are only in those weird Hallmark Meet Me for Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Where there's a widow and she's like, I guess it's my first Christmas alone. And then he remembers her from high school in 1959. He's like, can I have that dance you promised me at prom when everything was in black and white?
I'm glad she's getting her fairy tale. I don't know where the fuck mine is.
He's out there. I think you just thought you don't curse at it because the spirits hear you and they're like, she's not ready yet. She's still yelling at us. Maybe
Come on.
when she
Come on.
I told you, Corinne. I already think there's a couple dudes that you need a dude. You're focused on height, and it's important. It's everything I know.
Yeah.
But if you just opened up the filters a little bit, there are some dudes that would love your personality. You need a dude like Montez sees my mom, where he is like, look at that woman. Everything she says, I'm interested in. I value and appreciate her. Like the way I do, like the way our swimmers do. There's a reason that people are drawn to you. You need a dude like that, and he might be 5'10".
So I will tell you, this is funny because I was on the phone with my very first friend ever. I don't know how many people have this type of story, but she listens to the podcast. Her name is Lindsay Cohen because, as I always tell
Lindsay.
you, always and there's a million. Her sister's Jennifer Cohen. There's the Cohen name. It's how I always tell you the most common.
The Cohen name rings out in these streets.
It sure does. Anyways, Lindsay and I met when we were 3 years old in preschool. How
do you know that?
Oh, because we have pictures of each other, from preschool. Our parents are friends. We grew up our whole lives together. And I was talking to her about, guys we thought were hot in high school that, we can't find now. And she actually, Linz was
No, you're talking about guys you've stalked but have been evasive.
Well, no. These are guys that just never got on Facebook, never got on MySpace. They've just disappeared into the ether, and she I mean, I'm really blowing up her spot, but I don't think she cared. She was a news anchor for many years on Como in Seattle, and so she does, she's had access to ways to look people up beyond what a normal person has, and she can't find these people.
That's
but
so
I
interesting.
did bring up to her
really quickly because you unlocked the memory. I have an ex-girlfriend like that. Now I haven't looked for her in a while, but I looked, and this was like a girl, and I cannot find her.
I mean, I've asked. Because she can do a lot of magic work, but when you have somebody's name that's super common, I'll throw this out because I've always wondered what the hell happened to him. Andy Brown, my boyfriend in high school, he was so hot. He was kicked out of St. Thomas, came over to Western. We hung out, we dated. He drove up at one point and visited me in college. I don't know what became of him, but his name is too common. It's like looking for,
I would just guess with a name like that, you start on the banjo scene. That sounds like the biggest country folk singer.
No.
You couldn't see Andy Brown having a huge following where you're like, this is the biggest folk singer in America.
Maybe because he was obviously tall, he had crystal blue eyes. He had the Kurt Cobain thing going on. He was not country at all. He was very, I guess, grunge. He was so handsome. Andy Brown, if you're out there, I thought maybe we could make this work.
By the way, this is how Corinne stalks her exes. She just yells for them on a podcast.
But anyways,
Mike! Dave.
I'm putting out a fucking, what do you call it? An all points bulletin.
Yes.
Yeah. But I was talking to Lindsay about, we grew up with a guy, I guess I won't dox him, but he is the exception. I've called him this. He knows it. I've said it all through college. He's the exception to the short rule. He's he's a beautiful man, and he has so much swagger, and he's got to be like 5'10". And I would say it all the time in college, like, you're the guy. I mean, we were only friends, but I'm like, you're it. I have never seen a short king like him before, ever again.
And you can't find him now?
Oh, no, we know exactly where he is. That one's findable.
That sounds scary.
But I did bring him up because I was like, and fucking so-and-so still looks good. And like, you wouldn't expect it. He was short. The odds were against him.
Do you want to shoot your shot now?
No. He's married and I never dated him. I'm looking for Andy Brown, okay? Andy, I think, is probably in a jail cell somewhere.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
But wouldn't you be able to find him easier?
The name is too common. I mean, we've tried, like, I've looked, I know the relative age range. I know some facts about him. I can't find him. I don't know. Just you talking about the commonality of a name. I had a homegirl in Miami. It's weird. I don't want to dox her either, but it's about her name. Her name was so common. Her last name was a common Spanish name, starts with an M. Her last name was Lopez, and she had no middle name. Mm-hmm. So when she got pulled over, every M. Lopez, some had a jaywalking ticket, some had 3 bodies on them, and she was like, every time I get pulled over, there's so much anxiety because, first of all, they're like, what do you mean you don't have a middle name? It's a big deal when you have a common. Well, we can't dox Andy's middle name. Unless we want to find him. I don't know his middle name. I wish I did.
Oh, then you could dox him. The irony of it all.
Yeah, I know. But like, Andy, if you're out there, again, I don't know that he's out there. Okay, so while we're on, I guess, this subject. Well, actually, I wanted to go back to, did you finish? So you're going to South Carolina. South Kakalaka.
Going to South Kakalaka. And I was thinking, this is so random, but I was thinking about this the other day. I had to go up to Kaiser, and I was driving back. And there was a woman walking down the street, and I always go through these weird, random things, like, because I was looking at her, I was like, because I see guys yell at women at cars, and I'm like, does that ever work?
How hot are you?
See, that's my question. I'm not the yelling. I've never. That's so embarrassing. That's the level of like Hooters embarrassing to me.
Yeah.
But it got me to thinking, if you are in a vehicle and you see you're Corinne, you're a normal person, you have a lot to offer, and this person's on the street, how do you approach somebody in the car to street? What's the best way? It's not going to be ideal, because if you pull over, it's scary. Whatever. Talk to me.
I can't. I want you to look at. So I have notes in front of us that you guys can't see. Can you see?
But you will still point to them. You can't see.
Do you see where my foot is? Do you see where it says shoot your shot, King Super Guy?
Oh.
I literally have this story. Would you get out of my fucking head?
This is
This is wild.
Yes.
This is not like something that happens.
We're those people that are separated at birth, and like she burned her hand on the stove, and then I felt it in North Dakota.
So weird.
Yes.
It's on my list. So let's kick it off with that.
Okay.
All right. So.
Well, why don't you paint your scenario, since you have a real life scenario, and then we'll go through a couple of hypothetical scenarios.
Okay. All right, so I went all the way to a King Soopers that's nowhere near me. If you don't know, King Soopers is a popular grocery store, like Ralph's is in Los Angeles, like Publix is in Florida, and that's the extent of grocery stores I know.
Kroger. Show some love. Albertsons. You've been around this world.
Terrible.
Hey, it's a chain.
It's so
Piggly
bad.
Wiggly. Holla at me.
Okay, all right, so I go to a specific King Soopers that's very, very far from me because they have the 5-calorie diet grapefruit juice that Ocean Spray makes that for some reason, there's that joke, Cran will have a baby with anybody. There's Cran apple, there's Cran mango, every supermarket carries 10 different fucking solutions for your UTI.
And they're all disgusting.
They're so vile.
It all tastes like medicine.
They're vile. There is a diet grapefruit juice that is 5 calories that I swear to God tastes just like real grapefruit juice. It is so good, and no one carries it except this one King Soopers. So I schlep all the way to this King Soopers because I really wanted this. And by the way, I get there's only 2 left. I bought out the 2, but I was planning on going. I mean, I got a storage unit, like a
I don't think
Harry
you can
Potter's.
call buying 2 things of soda buying out the joint.
No, I know, but I went in intending. Yeah. I have a like Harry Potter style under the stairwell storage that.
Oh, I like that.
I cleared out room to buy as much available of this grapefruit juice as possible, and there was only two of the liter whatever things of it. Anyways, all right.
It like the kind of storage where like a young girl would talk to her imaginary friend in?
Oh,
okay.
Yes,
all right.
For sure. Yes. It's a really cool storage area. I mean,
it sounds like it.
One of the many reasons I settled on this particular house. Okay, so.
And that ends this segment of Corinne doxes herself slowly but surely over the course of That's their well. It's one of a kind.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So I am in the parking lot and I am bringing my cart back to my vehicle, and then I'm looking for where to return the cart, and this guy comes over to me, and so he looks like he just got off a job, maybe painting houses.
Okay.
There's he's definitely not homeless, but he's definitely
covered in work.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's wearing work boots.
It looks like a person that had a real day of work that day. Yes.
So it didn't dawn on me anything was happening here. And he said, he screams out, "Can I help you with that?" And so originally I look at him and I realize he's not homeless, because sometimes, a homeless person will say, "Can I clean your windows for this?
Can I pump your gas?"
Whatever.
Definitely,
Yeah. And
you
truthfully,
can't entertain that.
I mean,
unless it's really cold.
Look, we talked about the last episode, coincidentally, if you're a woman in a parking lot and you're entering your vehicle, it's not a great time to then fumble through your bag looking for ones to tip somebody. That's just asking for trouble. And so it's not that I don't necessarily I wouldn't let a homeless. That's fine. They can. But it's just in that scenario of being alone in the parking lot, I feel very vulnerable.
You have to be safe. You can't be PC all the time and be in the trunk somewhere.
Yes, exactly. So when this guy approached me in the parking lot, again, yes, it is a supermarket, but I'm still at the end of a row, and I am always mentally aware. If I open my car door, simultaneously, when he's speaking to me and he's a little too close to my car, could he push me into the car, push me into the trunk? So I'm aware. When he yells out, "Can I help you with that?" I was again, with the Ted Bundy nonsense. No.
I love you. Yeah.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And then I said, "Do you need," and he goes, "Well, I'll take your cart." Now that's not super uncommon, but I was okay, in order for you to take my cart, I got to get the stuff out of my cart, which requires me to open my trunk. And I'm doing the whole awareness thing. And I was honestly, the cart returns right there. Nobody needs this extra. And then he just fumbles and he breaks down and he goes, "I'm sorry. I don't know how to do this. I was watching you in the store. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I wondered if I could maybe exchange Instagrams with you. Do you have an Instagram?" And I really, my guard was completely down at that point. I was this is so adorable. No, I don't want to date this guy. But it was such an aggressive shoot your shot. And I could tell by the way he was honestly saying it that he very clearly, he left the store to kind of get up.
Figure out a way to have a fake interaction with you to start talking.
Yeah.
I always say, when you want to talk to somebody, you have to get them to stop.
Yes.
That's the thing, without being creepy.
And I think he just couldn't come up with something inside the store, so he just thought this was what he would do.
Well, you shot all his ideas down, and they died a slow death in front of him. "Can I help you with your card?" "I got it." "You need help with your door?" "I got it." No. He's "Hey, you are fine."
Yeah. Yeah, so his name was Nano.
Okay. Wait, so you exchanged names. So talk to me about the interaction.
Okay, so he said to me, "Well, this is what I'd like to point out is that there are ways to do this." He went a little overboard. So he says to me, I can I exchange Instagrams? And I thought, this is innocent enough. In my head, I was well, I guess he has my license plate number now, but I don't know. So I said yes. And he goes, "Okay." And he hands me his phone, and I put my Instagram in his phone. Now, that should have been it, right? That's kind of, okay, now you can maybe message me or whatever. And then he didn't stop there. And he goes, well, can I have your phone number?
Oh.
And I said, "No. I think we decided on Instagram." And he said, "But are you going to answer the message?" Yeah, that's what he said to me.
No.
"Are you going to answer the message in Instagram?"
I was so down with this dude.
I know. Same. Same. And I said, "Well, I guess you'll have to find out by messaging me on Instagram." And then I waited for him to walk away with the cart, and then I
instantly changed your license plate. Yeah, that's terrifying.
Or he didn't walk away with the cart. He walked away, and but I was oh. So you see, you give them an inch, they take a mile. It was fine to say, "Can I have your Instagram?" And it was kind of sweet and fine. But then he went a little too far.
You know why that really bothers me? It's because I'm a big advocate of still doing things in real life. I feel like it's slipping away where more and more people, even as reluctant as they may be to do it, become more and more entrenched in life online. So I try and still be active and just be a person and talk to people. And I will. I say to this day, when I was at the bottom after all my stuff was stolen, the first sign of me coming back to real human life was I had a conversation about my outdoor lighting with this employee at Home Depot on a Friday night, because I was going to Home Depot like 3 times a day. I had nothing in my house. I had nothing.
I know.
And like this dude was just like, "What you looking at?" And I was like, "I'm looking at this setup." He's like, "I like that. Here's what I use." And he was like, Friday nights like this, me and the wife, I get home about 9:30. We roll up a little something, and we just like, he was just like a chill white dude, just a cool, like, he didn't come off polarizing in any way. He just seemed like a guy that liked his job, that loved his wife, and was looking forward to Friday nights because that was their night. Kids asleep or whatever they're doing to roll up. He's like, "Here's the lighting you want to set the mood." And I was like, "Oh, there are normal couples. There are normal people that enjoy their lives, including this guy." And I can you see the vibe in my crib now. And so that I push for those conversations, and you try to engage in one. You try to have a real moment. I
want to reward good behavior, which is why I was like, okay, look, I respect the move. I wondered, have you ever shot your shot in a car? I'm trying to think of, like, I don't think I'm that, like, no one's ever, I've never driven and somebody, I mean, that just doesn't happen. But the parking lot situation, it doesn't happen all the time, for sure not. I mean, it hasn't happened in years, but this is just weird. It happened yesterday.
Yeah, I think the car to street ratio never works because the power dynamic is so great.
Yeah.
Because one person, you just feel vulnerable. This person's covered in metal, basically, and you're just standing there with your hands in your pockets like, "Do you want to talk to me or rob me?" Like, you don't really know.
Oh.
And so, especially if you're a man approaching a woman, unless you say something so charming, opening, like with an opening line, and also you need to be attractive.
If you're really hot.
Yeah.
I'm going to get murdered by a hot person. I think I would actually
Ted Bundy.
be fine with that. Yeah, I mean, Ted isn't my type, but I could see where people went awry there. Yeah.
Right.
But it's so rare.
He was a lawyer, right? He had his life together in the 70s or the 80s, whenever that was. That was hard to do. Everybody's on coke.
I thought the Night Stalker was kind of sexy.
He had a lot of fans.
Yeah,
a lot of women liked him.
He was on the dating show.
Yeah. There's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a power thing. I mean, you're telling me the Night Stalker couldn't have just, like, in a couple different moves, ended up being like David Koresh from Waco, just a guy that women like to follow.
Just make a couple different decisions.
Right. And you're not a weird guy that strangles women. You're a guy that, is marrying 12-year-olds in front of their mom, and they're like, "This is beautiful."
Yeah.
That kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, I just, if anybody can send in a scenario that the car to street ratio could work, because you asked the question, I was never a shoot your shot in person. If there's like a bar graph, that's very low on my percentage of hooking it up. But at a party, dog.
Yeah.
Or because I can make people laugh quickly, and it draws everybody's attention in a conversation to you, and you can kind of keep that going. And if you can keep somebody entertained at a party for like 20 minutes, they're like, fine.
I'm a big fan of shooting your shot in person. But when you were saying the car thing, I thought you meant two people both in their vehicles. Like, I'm trying to think if I've been at a stoplight and someone's thrown their phone number through my window.
Right.
I've never seen that.
I wonder do you slow down? Do you get out? Like, I'm going through all these scenarios in my head, like.
Well, I'll tell you a stupider thing I did. This is also on my list. I shot my shot in, like, the absolute worst circumstances of all time to shoot your shot. Okay, so this past weekend, I went to a drag show at Charlie's, which is my favorite bar.
Shout out Charlie's. Yeah. Got my car towed from there once.
Oh, no.
It wasn't Charlie's fault. I was at a concert at the Fillmore across the street and came back to nothing. Yeah, I learned that the hard way with a hangover. Keep going.
Fuck. I always screw up the name for this. Jay would kill me. I just call it it's DGF. It's the Gay and Lesbian Football League, but there's this, like, very long DGFL, blah, 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 blah. And they have a drag show. It's called the Ballers Ball. And so every year we go. And so we go to this drag show, which that's fine. However, and by the way, the lesbians really brought it. Their drag was incredible, and it was unexpected. And, like, I put it on my Instagram, and I put it on our My Safe Word Is More Instagram. Obviously, now is a really good time to show support.
Absolutely.
Drag, so that's what I was trying to do. Anyways, I know a lot of the artists. One of my friends, his name in real life is Vince, but he's Lucy Pebbles on Ballers Ball, and he's got like a 1950s housewife thing going on, and so we were there to support him, and so it was really fun.
I was just down with Lucy Pebbles, so you gave it more context. I was like, I really like that. That's great.
Yeah.
I like clever names.
Yeah. So anyway, when I was there, I identify, and Jay hates when I do this. I identify a guy, and I always say the same, like this beautiful, gorgeous, tall, thick black man, like just a good looking dude. And I was like, one of us is getting him. It's me or you. And Jay's always like, I don't want your help. Like, he's very he's, he doesn't necessarily think that every guy's going to like him, and he doesn't shoot his shot. He's really like the antithesis of me. He's not a wallflower by any means, but he doesn't shoot his shot very often. That's like not his thing. He's much more like waiting for someone to come to him. And I'm the opposite, right?
Have that option.
So I was like, there's a chance maybe he's not gay. And this is, let me tell you, the pitch for Jay always to get me to go to a gay bar over a regular bar that he calls them straight bars. They're just called bars, the regular ones. He will say to me, well, there's always one guy has a brother that's supportive that comes. I mean, the chance of me meeting somebody at a gay bar is extraordinarily low. The chance of him meeting somebody at a regular bar isn't as low. But like my odds are very low. And I always walk in there like, I don't know, maybe there's a chance. So I see this guy and like I begin having drinks and I become, a heat-seeking missile. Like I won't leave it be. And I'm just like, Jay, one of us, it's going to be one of us. And he's like, it's not going to be you. And then Lucy Pebble's boyfriend said to me, he goes, oh, I actually I know who he is. He's definitely gay. And I won't take it. I am rejecting this as a concept.
There we go.
He maybe just hasn't met me. So now, unfortunately for Jay, they start walking outside. Him, Lucy Pebble's boyfriend, and I'm sort of lagging behind because I can see out of the corner of my eye this hot guy. So I just part from the group, and they're walking ahead of me. They don't notice. I part, and I was like, "Hi," and I am now fingers to chest, just. How do you describe what I'm doing? Petting the front of him.
Yes, it's like you're stroking a pelt.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And I was like, hi, you are so handsome. I said, I know that there's a low likelihood, but is there any chance that you play for my team? Like, could I get you? And he really, you wouldn't, I thought there was a chance, to be honest.
What did he say?
He said, I'm sorry, no. And I was like, okay, what's your name? Like, I am still not done. And his name,
Did you say, okay, but will you reply if I send you a DM?
No, I said something even dumber.
Okay.
His name happens to be Ack. I don't know if that's short for something. And then I said, so we definitely can't fack? And I am not stopping. And so then I go, well, I have this friend and we're outside. Maybe could you come outside for a minute? Oh boy, I tried him outside and Jay is just like, God damn it. And so this poor guy who couldn't be nicer, it gets worse from here. Once the drag show ends, now Jay wants to schlep me to X Bar. And to be clear, I don't like X Bar. The music, I'm not a music snob with regards to volume, but I swear to God, you need earplugs. The treble is too high.
Sometimes it's just blasting in a way that a human ear should not be experiencing.
It really is. Music. And I'm like, Why do you do this? Why is the city even letting you do this? Anyway, we're there for a little, and then you know who shows up? Ack. And I'm like,
Ack is back.
Uh-huh. And I was like, hi, Ack. As though we go back more than an hour ago.
And as though he is really excited to see you. He's like, oh, the woman that's trying to change my sexuality.
Definitely
this evening.
Just wasting my time.
Absolutely.
And
potentially C-blocking because people are like, oh, it's a straight guy with his girlfriend. Yes. Yeah, you're blowing up on two ends.
And then I'm hovering and Jay is really annoyed with me. He's really pulled me as far as he can. And then I see the greatest thing of all. I don't know why he did it. I mean, it just gets done. But he went the entire first half of the night normal. He was actually wearing a shirt kind of similar to what you're wearing right now. He's in a group of men and he just takes his shirt off. And I scream from across the bar, woo woo! And at this point.
You thunder down under it.
Jay called an Uber and was like, I am actually not entertaining this anymore.
Good for him. Him.
So when you go comes to shooting your shot, I definitely do it, especially at a bar, but it's just the wrong place.
Yeah, but then it's the concept of shoot your shot is you have one
You have a shot.
You
Right.
took your shot. You shot your shot. You shot your shot again, which you didn't have to shoot at the same man
I
a couple hours
reloaded
later.
and was like, but how about this?
Do you think he was like, I was doing some thinking on the Uber over here. You know what? Let me change my entire life.
I swear to God, in the Uber home, I was like, I think I should have asked him for his number. And Jay's like, what is wrong with you? Why would he? And I was like, because he's still, I'd be fine just being in his atmosphere. He was so pretty.
Just once in my life, I want somebody to say that. They just want to be in my atmosphere.
Yeah, it's very
You
John
understand? Yes, you have to be an acoustic singer, and it's just one of those guys. It's not even like a R&B or hip hop star. That's you just want to be in their orbit. You just want to be in Drake's orbit. Atmosphere is emotional.
Yes. And then also there was another gay man that we knew, right, that came over when he took the shirt off, and like this guy comes over. I don't know him very well, but I like casually know him, and I was like, yo, you see this? And he goes, oh yeah, that's Ak. He's a personal trainer and he's super sweet. And I was like, oh yes, he's very patient. I've picked up on that.
Yeah.
So back to Charlie's.
I thought you then enrolled in personal training lessons just to continue stalking him.
I was like, where's the gym? And the gym is nowhere near. It's like in fucking Colorado Springs. It's not close. Whatever. I love
Shout
this
out
man.
Ak and his patience.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
He's non-fackable, but
that is a joke that Milton Berle should be telling on The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Go ahead.
Okay, so back to Charlie's. Something happened at Charlie's that was really special, and I couldn't wait to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these 3 boys come over to me at Charlie's, and they were like, Corinne! And I was like, hi. And they were like, we're huge fans. And then there's a crawfish boil that actually takes place this weekend. That's at somebody's house. That's it's also all gay. And
I would go to an all gay crawfish boil.
Oh, it's amazing. However, this year my parents were supposed to be in town, so you have to RSVP in advance because he orders the crawfish. It's our friend Brett. He's from Louisiana. Okay, fine. So these boys were like, so 2 of us saw you at the crawfish boil last year, but we were too nervous to come over. And the third one didn't realize I was there. And after I left, they were like, do you know who you just missed? And so we're having this conversation, and they were like, can we take a picture? I was like, yes, of course. The lighting in Charlie's is fucking terrible. Anyway, we take a picture, and then I decide in this moment of time, you and I have talked about getting the merch made of Jizz Rags and just giving them out.
Yes.
At Charlie's. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a little ground marketing. So I said to them, this is very cheesy, but if you like me, I have a podcast. And they were like, girl, we know. We just heard the proctologist story.
Oh, that's great.
It's my first time where I met in the wild fans of our podcast.
Oh, what's up?
Yes.
That's so dope. And it's dope you met him at Charlie's.
Yes. And they were like, you don't think every bottom has a proctologist story like yours? And to that end, I had one of my favorite patrons wrote in. I won't dox him because I just feel like it's whatever. Who knows if he wants this information out. So he says, I'm laughing so hard on the plane right now at your story about the proctologist. I recently had to tell my doctor that I was having pain in my bottom. He asked me where, and I said right around the entrance. And he said, well, maybe it hurts because you refer to it as an entrance.
That's always bad sign number 1. And you know what I was going to tell you, because you talked about the lighting in Charlie's and how it makes for bad pictures.
Horrible.
You know what the lighting in Charlie's is? It's how you remember the night in there, because it's like blurry and smeared. Yes. And you remember like having fun, like taking shots. And then you just remember like somebody going, who's calling the car? And then you go, where's Corinne? And then you're just at home. That's how like a night at Charlie's you remember. And that's how the pictures come out, like almost like a drunken memory.
Yeah. It's when I say bad lighting, and he knows what I'm talking about, he's even there. It's like the blue and red bullshit lighting.
It makes it like purple and white.
I will show you. I took a bunch of pictures when I was there. I've actually deleted them all, but they're in my trash somewhere. They all look like I'm in that. What's the Avatar?
The movie?
Like my face is blue.
Oh, so
like all of our faces are.
I thought you were asking a question about Avatar.
Is that the movie where they're blue?
It is, but you didn't ask it like a question like Avatar. You go Avatar. Like you just yelled it at me, and I was like, okay.
Yes, that's a word.
That is, we're going to leave it at that. You will have the final say on that. Yeah, it is kind of like that. I could see that. I went to my boy Jure is a professional former, trying to get him to come out of retirement like Jordan, but he's a former like a drag queen to the he wins a bunch of stuff, and we went for his final performance. And we went to Charlie's as just a show.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most fun nights we ever. I mean, Jeray, I was sitting there and I was like, this is so entertaining.
Yeah,
And then at the end of the day, isn't that what you want? You're like, I have this thing. It has my full attention. I am enjoying it.
Well, the one of the performers was just exceedingly amazing. These are not real. They're people that play in the league. So they're like, some of them didn't have great choreograph. A lot of times I was like, yo, we should cut these routines to 45 seconds. Like, I don't need a 3-minute solo performance of like a slow ballad from Gaga that like I've never heard. Like,
right. It's more about you getting it out. It's almost like karaoke, where the really good karaoke places just do like a minute and 15, so you can sing the chorus a couple times in one verse, but we don't need to hear 18 melody breakdown, and you're like, oh my God.
I know, and I knew when Lucy was going on, so I was like Lucy was going on in the second bracket, and like after 15 of the first drags, the acts went on, I was like, oh God, how many did we allow in this show? Anyway, this person was like the number 2 one out, and she was absolutely mind-blowingly phenomenal, and I went like full fangirl, and I didn't know what, like, I again, Jay would really like it if I didn't do these things, so I like find her. She was giant, so I find her off stage like immediately when she exits the stage, and all of her actual friends, or his actual friends, but are congratulating. I walk over, I'm like, excuse me, I am so impressed with, and like there's
like you're a scout from Hollywood.
Yeah, and that's what I was like, I didn't want to be like, what I wanted to do, what I ended up saying multiple times, I was like, can I take a picture? And then later on I was like, I'm sorry, I fangirled out earlier, but I have a public platform and I want to elevate drag on my platform, and like I just wanted to be like, I'm a survivor on The Amazing Race, but like I couldn't do it artfully, so I didn't say it.
You got to just casually work it in. I know about pictures. I was on Survivor, so I get it.
Well,
but if you don't,
I asked for his Instagram, and then he tells me, he's like, this is my first performance ever, which was wild.
Wow.
He breakdanced in this crazy elaborate costume. I just thought it was like so incredible. Anyway, so then when he followed me back, he was like, oh shit. And I was like, yeah.
That's how you do it.
So anyway, whatever.
By the way, that was a low key back when I was single. That was the way I would, like, without dropping like, oh, I've been on some stuff, I would just be like, follow me on Instagram and never mention anything.
Yeah.
And then so it's a complete surprise. It's better than when you oversell yourself.
I know, but I feel like at this point, I was embarrassed for myself. I was just like not, it wasn't like, look, the act stuff I don't take back, but I could have been cooler about the performer.
Yeah, you could have been cool. I know. Maybe you take some of the act stuff back. Maybe you say, I don't know. And this is on a slightly more serious note. It's hard to know how someone wants to be approached, because some people are like, hey, if you like me, come buy me a drink and like step to me and say, hey, what's up? I'm Al. Like, tell me about yourself. And then other people are like, who is this guy walking up on me? You know, it's a very, like, you don't know. So you just have to go with the vibe you're kind of feeling. You were feeling annoy act. That's what you were feeling.
And this guy was the belle of the ball. I mean,
literally.
I mean, he was surrounded, every man in there. And I'm like, excuse, hello, sir. Like, it's just, I was wasting his time. But he was sweet about it.
That's okay. And, you know, again, I think that we are connected, not only just in friendship, but also there's something our energies are alike, because I wanted to talk to you. I had the most random flashback of a terrible date. And I was like, Corinne always talks about her dates, both good and bad.
Yeah.
And it seems like I never do. And I'm like, I'm not holding back. I just don't remember a lot of dates. And I had this random memory of this terrible date. I went out with it's strange. I met this girl when I lived in New York, and I was moving to Miami. And so when I moved to Miami, she moved from New York to Miami to Orlando, to live with her family.
Not Miami.
So she was living in Orlando. So this is back when like people would still text. And she was
people still live in Orlando?
Yeah. And so like she's like, I live in Orlando now. We should hook up. And I was still a full-fledged middle school teacher. I don't think I'd ever done stand-up yet. And she's like, let's go on a date. So I'm like, cool. She was like, I only have a few days and they're all during the week to hang out. So I was like, that's kind of an L because to drive from Miami to Orlando.
Oh my God.
During the work week.
Absolutely not.
During the work. That's how much I wanted to see her. During the work week, dog.
Met in between and.
Because I don't think she had the means to get anywhere.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, you know me, I was just like, oh, no problem. Like, I'll drive up there. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, so I drive up to Orlando, which is 2.5, 3 hours.
Well, 3.5.
3.5. Okay.
I actually think I know a midway point, and whatever. I'm interrupting you.
What's the midway point? It's all swamp in there.
I think it's Port St. Lucie.
Oh yes, that's on the coast though.
Yeah, but I think that's in between Miami and yes, Orlando's inland, but Miami's on the coast. I think it's like roughly in the middle. And the only thing that came to my head, and this is so childish, but in high school we used to call it instead of Port St. Lucie, Lord St. Pussy. I just giggled to myself.
I believe that was, and I'm glad we stopped the story for that because I'll think about that for a long time.
Lord St. Pussy, could have met there.
First of all, I spent a lot of time there. I started my career in Florida, so I did all Port Charlotte, Port St. Lucie. Mm-hmm. I did all Plant City, all those areas. I did a bunch, and so I had to drive straight after work to Orlando, which is like 3.5 hours. And I get there, and she's like, we want to go to Universal Studios. You need to remember, Corinne.
Oh, my
Corinne,
God.
Yes, your reaction. Why'd you react like that, Corinne?
Well, first of all, it's really expensive.
Okay, Corinne, you could just stop right there. You could just stop right there.
Wild thing to ask for on a first date.
And my face, I've already committed now, dog. I'm here, and this isn't like, let me go on my phone and look. Cheap fun near me. I'm like, sure. Oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? I have no money. I'm a teacher. Like, I had no money. And so we go to Universal Studios, and they have like that outdoor mall thing where they have like,
yes, I do.
They have all those terrible shops, and one of them is like the Bob Marley cat bar where it's like they play reggae all day and whatever. So we went in there, and by this time, it's a 3.5 hour drive post me coming straight from school. So it's like 8, it's dark. And
also, if you're gonna spend the money on Universal, it closes by 10:30. Like it's not 11.
But the Universal.
You mean
walk? Night walker?
City Walk. Yeah.
City Walk, yeah, that part. So there's like bars that are open late.
Yes.
And so we go to this reggae bar, and there's real, the Rastas. I guess it's just old school Rasta cats in there, hanging out in this tourist trap.
Yeah.
And so at one point
Universal pays to hang out there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
there's like
they're not naturally.
You have to go through a turnstile to get into this place, And so. I'm there and I'm like looking at the menu, seeing what drinks I want to get us started with to set the price point.
Yeah.
We're going to get rum drops, something cheap. And so I go over and I get some whatever we're supposed to get. And I come back and this girl that I'd driven 4.5 hours with is dancing with like this super, super, super old Rasta dude. And I'm talking, at this point, I'm probably like 28. I'm 45 now. And she was like around my age. And he was so she's probably like 27, 28. And
was it her dad?
No, it looked like it could have been her great grandfather. I mean, like a long gray Gandalf beard, not just like not a seasoned gentleman, like an old, like a wise man that should have been sitting on a tree stump giving advice. And so I was like, oh, that's cute. She's dancing with the old dude. And, so I sat there, I drank my drink and, TV's on. This is like before people really were on their phones all day. And I'm just sitting there and, the next song starts and they're dancing again.
No.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do because reggae songs you kind of don't know when they end.
No,
but like I was like, I think this is like another song and this is probably gonna be 7 minutes like the last one. So they dance again. I was like, oh, it's cool. And then like third song and they're still dancing. Only like now she's like backing it up a little bit, and I am watching this happen on a teacher's. I don't know what to do, Corinne. Like we can look. I need it. I know.
Jesus, fuck! How long? I mean, that's just.
This is
the disrespect.
So
Yeah, dude.
And she didn't even live in Orlando proper. There's like those other cities that are around Orlando that like. Yeah. And so like
if you don't go to college at UCF or like you work at Disney, like if you're in the outside,
right? She was like in it, and she didn't live
rough.
It was weird because you can usually describe anywhere in this country as like city, rural, suburbs, whatever. There are some places that are like, this is not the hood. This is not a working class community. It's not a rich community. It's a section of like random houses and train tracks and just like unincorporated city land. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, where am I? So I had to pick her up from there. And so like we're not even, that's why I'm saying like to leave, I would be leaving her probably 45 minutes from her crib. Like we were not like, there's pre-Uber. And so they proceeded to dance. I'm going to say they started dancing at probably like 8 on the dot. They danced till 10:30.
I have no words for this.
Corinne, I'm sitting there and I was drinking and I think I texted my boy a couple times like, yo, you will not believe. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't, like I was so.
I would have given a quick tap on the shoulder.
Well, that's what I did.
This is wild behavior.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
This is like it wasn't 10:30. It was closer to like it was still kind of light outside, so it might have been like summertime. So it was like 9:30ish, but it was late. It was late on the school. I still have a 4-hour drive,
Yikes.
Doug. A 4-hour drive.
Partially your fault. There's
yes.
No world in which. Well, if Tommy Dewey, I'll fly to LA. With no notice, if he'd like to go on a date, okay?
And then he can ghost you for an
an
older Rastafarian woman.
I think I'd make a scene. I don't think I'd be cool.
I did.
You're a lot.
I'm just not a scene maker. And so by the end of like they start to get to the end of the the time, and then after a while he started buying her drinks. So once I saw that happen, like I'm out. So I just roll.
Oh, wow.
And I finally did. And this is why I remember it was kind of still light outside because I remember seeing her running up on me like from behind. It wasn't pitch black or like somebody. Yeah. I saw her like come running because I was out. There was I was still like wild dude.
Did she think this was going to turn you on?
I don't know what she was doing. And so she comes out. And she's like trying to catch me like, oh, I thought you were leaving. I thought we were having a good, she didn't say a good time, but she was like, basically like, I thought we were in there kicking it. And I'm like.
You were kicking it.
Yeah. And then so the old dude who's put in an hour and a half, hour 45 of work, right. and to his credit, I would think she was feeling me. Yeah. Like she really teased him up. I'm sure he was all frothed up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, she was putting, he was prime. And so he comes out and he's like, oh girl, where you going? Let me get your number. Like and she's kind of looking at me like, will you cut him? And I was like, no, that's your man. Yeah. I was like, that's your boo-boo. And so she brushes this guy off eventually. I get in my car. She gets in the passenger seat. And, we just leave. We are not talking. And we're driving back to her place in about 40 minutes. And I'm just doing the math. Because, you look, and it's like 9:36, and you're not even close to her crib. And you're like, I'm not getting home till 2:30.
No, and that drive is so, desolate and boring.
It's Alligator Alley. It's a swamp. That's why they call where Florida plays the stadium's called the Swamp.
Yes.
The team's called the Gators.
Yes.
It's swamp. They're not bullshitting. Mm-hmm. And so there's very few places to stop. And when you do pull over, it's like there's marshland over there. There's nothing. There's no solid ground. So she's like, we're driving like 20 minutes, and she goes, pull over. I feel sick. And so
this date,
she opens the door to throw up. Like, we got pull over. She opens the door to
kick her in the back. Splash.
She opens the door to throw up, but forgets to take her seatbelt off.
So
she luckily she got enough of her momentum where her face and everything was enough where she did throw up outside of the car. Then she just released her seatbelt. But this isn't the movies where like your seatbelt snaps. Like kind of holds the side of your hip fat for a little, and then so she just slowly rolled out of the car. And threw up outside, which I'm like, how you feeling, buddy, from your romance day? I was just having so much fun watching her vomit. And so she gets back in the car, and she goes to close my passenger door, and she slams her glasses in the door. She had these classics and, broke them, but not where they were broken, just like if you just took it and pushed one of your hands up and pulled them. So they just had that wrench, like when Superman would get punched and his glasses would be weird. And so her glasses were just sitting on her face. just like that, the entire trip, just like hanging off and broken. She was nauseous and vomiting, and I dropped her off just like that, and I just drove home, and I couldn't have been happier. But tell me, Corinne.
And now you're engaged.
And now I'm engaged, yes. And now she's the mother of my children.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, what do you think that was?
Oh, that's just
because I don't think she was feeling him.
No, she's just can't hold her alcohol and didn't judge the situation, didn't know how much time had elapsed.
I think you're right.
Yeah. That's she's just a rookie.
I've thought about her motivations for that, and that's like, you just go for the simplest thing, because it's like, she called me when she came down. She was definitely like, hey, I know but I want to see you too. She was like, broke chick from Brooklyn. She had money to get down to Miami.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I thought, I didn't stalk her to get this date. Like it was mutual. So ever since then, whenever I've thought about it, like, why did she do that? But I think you're right. You just cleared something up for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've had my share of stupid things that I've done, though. I don't have. I wouldn't do that move.
What do you do after the third song?
A tap on the shoulder.
No, you're me now. Put yourself in my situation, Corinne. Like know.
First of all, was he buying her the drinks going forward? How'd she get so drunk? Did you buy all these drinks?
No. I bought the first round because I was like, that's when they started dancing. When I went and got the first round,
and you brought it to her.
And I think I might have bought a second round to take over there to kind of give her the,
really
like when
lubed her up for this guy.
Yeah. I hate you. I did though. I did. I think the second, like sometimes you'll take somebody a glass of water and be like, we need to leave right now. Like the second drink was more to give her the eye, like, what are we doing? Are we partying? This is your out, because I did drive 3.5 hours. I'm not going to be like, one drink, I don't like her behavior.
Yeah.
I tried to, and I think this, and then I think after she was primed, then he took over after I was the opening act. And then I really never saw her again until she was slowly sliding out of my car vomiting.
Boy, this is really, that's a good story, man.
I don't know why that popped in my head. I've lived a really weird life, like the college story.
You're asking me what I would do. I would never drive that far for a date. I would never date somebody who lives in Orlando. I wouldn't date someone who lives in the outskirts of Orlando, really, for any reason. There's just like a whole bunch of things I wouldn't have done that would have gotten me to the place. So it's hard for me to go.
Okay, but say you did all those things.
I wouldn't go to Universal on a date. I would none of these things track.
And it shows you she was a tourist because she really didn't even know. Yeah. Like we were both like, that sounds like where all the underground in Orlando is, Universal Studio Walk or whatever.
Yeah. City Walk. Yeah.
Do you have any dating stories? Because I feel like you do. I feel like you told me.
I've got a bazillion. You mean current day? Yeah.
Yes, I would like to hear some present day. That was back. That was in the
transition. Because I was thinking in my head, I'll tell. This is very short. I used to have to go to Hawaii for work. I know everyone thinks that's cool. It's actually fucking not. Honolulu is a massive time difference. At the time when I covered it, I lived in LA. It's a shitty 6-hour flight. I still had to be accountable for all of the physicians and all of the shit that's going on.
They're like 5 hours behind, right?
Yeah, it's
crazy.
And I don't know if this has changed. I think it has, but there's no Wi-Fi a lot of times over the ocean part. I don't know. It's not glamorous. I also had to go to Honolulu, which is it's the Orlando of Hawaii, if you will.
Honolulu is the city. Like people go to Maui and
it's
all
where the hospitals are. That's why I went there.
Oh.
So I was out, this is years ago. I was in Honolulu and I used to treat myself while I was there. I would take a surf lesson. I would take myself on sunset cruises. I'd get hammered on the cruise and kiki with the staff. I would just do, because I'm very, I don't mind hanging out by myself. At the time, I think
you have very comic-like instincts, by the way.
Do I?
Comics don't mind hanging out. I
go to a bar by myself all the time. I would actually do that over, I don't know, hanging out with somebody I don't want to spend time with. So in Hawaii, I was at a bar by myself, and it was getting late. I had a flight the next day to catch, and there was a cute guy at the bar. So I shot my shot, and I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, we start talking, and he tells me what he does for a living, and I forget what it was, but it was something day labor-ish where he has to get up very early. I don't remember the nuances of this, but he lived in Honolulu, and I was like, I was kind of into him. I'm making out with him at the bar a little, blah, blah, blah. And then
that's kind of being into somebody. What is?
I was casually
What's really being into somebody? Where's Corinne? She's still here. You just can't see her.
So, all right. So he says to me, he goes, well, I have, there's a huge reggae and I happen to really love reggae.
Reggae is awesome.
Yes. And so it was called Majah Raja, Majahrajah, like Ja, right? And the headliner was Matisia, who is maybe my famous singer of any like reggae. And so I was like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah, I would, if you want to stay, because my hotel was super expensive. I wasn't going to do that. And I was like, okay, let me go outside. And this is when you still had to pay change fees. So I was like, it's going to cost me $250 to change my American flight, but I'll stay for like the weekend and then we can kick it.
By the way, I've always said, let me see if I can change my flight is the siren song of every alcoholic. Anybody that kicks is like, we'll change our flight. It's fine. But go ahead. Yeah.
So I plunked down $250, but like, I'm going to get to stay in Hawaii for another 2 days. He lives there. So we like go hard in the paint for like that night. And then maybe it was 3 nights. So we go on a hike, which I don't know why this hike was so difficult. I do know why. I have actually great endurance for hikes. What I don't have is the endurance. I can't stand being hot and humid and hiking. And so I was really like bitching. This will come into play in a minute. Like I was like, ugh. Like, I was basically like, why didn't you bring a fan? Like, I was, like, not cool on this hike.
Why did he take you on this?
I don't know. And he was pretty sweet and patient about it. But anyway, by the third night, which is when Majah Raja was, Matisa, who goes on, and, like, he had to continuously get up and go to work at, like, an ungodly hour. I'm sleeping in. I'm at his apartment, which is, like, on the beach. So he's like pretty like cashed out by that concert night. And post-concert, the concert ends. It's on the actual beach. Like the ocean, the waves are crashing. It's a cool festival. And we're like mingling around and like the concert ends and I'm thinking it's my last night there. Like we're going to like, go after it.
Right.
And he's like, I just don't have it in me. Like I need to go home and go to bed.
You wore him out.
And I was pissed. I had been sleeping in for the last 3 days at his place,
Why the long face?
And I was just like, fine. And he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, maybe how about if I take a nap and then like we can go back out? Like, the concert ends at like 10:30. We're walkable from the concert to his place on the beach. And he's like, if you just give me like an hour. Well, I don't know I don't remember what happened, but I took an Ambien because I think I was hungry because, I can't eat dinner until I take so I like took an Ambien. And I don't remember this, but apparently, according to him, he woke me up within like an hour and a half of me taking the Ambien, not realizing I had taken it. And he was like, hey, I feel better. Like, do you want to still go out? Like, we can go out till, places in Honolulu stay open pretty late. And I don't remember this, but I was like, I don't like you. I don't like that hike you took me on. I just start laying into him. Like, I am saying the meanest shit. I was like, and first of all, when I met you, you had a hat on and you appear to be losing your hair. Like, I go fucking batshit on this guy. And I only know this because the next morning he had to drive me to the airport. So when I wake up, I don't know anything went wrong. And I'm just like, hey, do you want to get brunch? And he's like, you were really mean last night. And I was like, you were mean. You didn't want to stay out. And he's like, yeah, but I woke you up to go back out. And then he told me all the things I had said.
Oh my God.
And he was like, I didn't really know what to do. It was really awful. Like, and I was like, well, I would apologize, but that's Ambient Corinne. Like, I don't.
You got to wake me up again tonight and I'll apologize.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know why she said that stuff. He's like, do you really think I'm losing my hair? And I was like, yeah.
Oh.
Ambient Corinne just said all the things.
And you don't need to ask that.
I mean, I know at one point he was like, you said like he had shown me pictures of him from like 5 years prior. And I remember thinking this when he showed it to me. I point to him in the picture and I go, who's your hot friend? And he's like, that's me. And it's because he didn't look as hot. Like, I
hope you explain that to him. It's because you're way uglier now. Yes, that's why I was confused.
So on Ambien,
you're gross now. You're not gross in this picture.
You used to have a better body. Like,
asked and answered.
Just so unnecessarily mean
my goodness.
to this nice boy who let me stay in his house, who got me tickets to the concert, who literally gave me free reign at his house for like 3 days, and I ended it like this. And I didn't know how to save it. So I think probably this is his worst date. Except, you know what? I will follow this up with something. He reached out to me after this and was like, hey, I was thinking of visiting LA. And I'm sorry to say, I just never responded.
Oh, my God, Corinne. Jesus, Lord, have mercy. Jesus. Oh, my God.
I know.
We need to start a GoFundMe for this guy's therapy bills.
I know. It's so bad. But I was like, what am I going to do? I don't want to insult him for like the 16th time by saying like, no, this was just for funsies while I was in Honolulu. So I just thought the appropriate response was no response.
Oh. It's because now he's just left to, even if you guys had just gone on one more date where it's just normal, you're like, oh, we could have a normal interaction, and then we just didn't talk anymore. But now he just has that last memory of, and the hair thing is the thing he felt comfortable bringing up. Doesn't mean there wasn't other things that you said.
I know.
So
I know because they were in my brain. Like I thought to myself when I met him at the bar that night, he was wearing a hat. And I should have checked harder. I know I asked him to take the hat off, and I thought the hair looked fine, but I was drunk and it was dark. And then when I ended up staying there and like seeing him in the daylight, I was like, oh, his hair's going. Like what?
But it's not going to go that day. You can still enjoy the weekend. His hair's going. Why do you got to be such a prognostic? You look at everybody. Wait till you're going to be terrible at 73.
Oh my God! Something even worse is he was texting on his phone. He went to the bathroom and for whatever reason left his phone out. And I saw the message and he sent to his friend. He's like, I am so lucky. She is so pretty. Like, it was the sweetest message. Because we went country dancing that first night. He took me, we did two-stepping. And he was really into me. And I just... Anyway, so if you're wondering how my karma's doing, that's probably a big part of why shit's not gone well for me. Because I was doing these kinds of antics 10 years ago.
That started like a rom-com that ended up in a humiliation video that should be on YouPorn. That was so mean that a lot of people find it erotic. They'd be like, tell the story again, but then describe his face. Like, that was like, I mean, that's pretty, you know.
I will put up, I remember I took a picture of the
and showed it to him. Look at the follicles. Do you see them? I don't either.
I took a picture of the two of us, the shadow of the two of us at the concert instead of the two of us because I decided he wasn't good looking enough to post on Facebook. So I was like, I'm going to take a picture of our shadows. So like make a peace sign or whatever. And
so it looks like a card for your 50th wedding anniversary.
Why don't you just ask someone to take a picture of us? And I was like, I'm not prepared to post a picture of you. And so I have that picture. That's definitely on my Facebook. I'll find that for you guys.
Okay, let's find that and then find him and tag him in it. Do you think you're good enough so we can show your face now? I mean, and then block him. That would be the only way that you could be.
Unless he got hair plugs, he's definitely bald by now.
But you can deal with a bald man. You just want him to go bald.
Just commit. Own it. I can't stand. Yes.
How many men that are losing their hair and they tell you it's obvious they're losing their hair? Is that a universal rule? Because some people's heads don't lend themselves to baldness.
Well, then you get hair plugs, friend. You one or the other. I cannot with you're trying to hold on to whatever's left of your hair.
Isn't a hat a gigantic, cheaper hair plug?
Well, I think that's just like a deal breaker for me. I can't, it's fine. Look, it's not fine. It sucks that you're losing your hair. However, you need to just lean into that. There isn't a world in which
Wow. Well,
I wasn't going to tell this story.
For what you want, so I respect. I mean, it's what it is. You don't like that. Go ahead.
I wasn't going to tell this story, but now I feel like I should.
You have to now.
I know. We're going to tell this, and then we'll get into emails. So I went on a date with a guy, and in every single picture, this guy has a gorgeous head of hair. Okay? This is also the gentleman, if you'll remember, that I deemed has children, and he's just not owning it.
Okay, yes.
Right? Okay.
Gotcha.
So he shows up, and I'll just share it with you. I will not share this publicly, but I want you to understand that these pictures are recent. This is actually what he looks like. And I was confused as to how this is even possible, okay? So, okay?
Okay. I see.
Look at the hair, okay?
I see it.
Okay? Hair.
Got it.
Hair. Okay, here's what's going on. He walks in, he is adorable. He has a full yarmulke of missing hair. Now, somehow, look, he's got the front, just like you see in this photo.
Right.
All this is gone.
Oh, so it's
all of this is gone.
So it's almost like the part where they plugged in on Neo And
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah.
But I've never seen any male pattern baldness like that. I've never seen this before.
That's the one I see a lot on. I feel like definitely a lot of my homies, black dudes, like that little, it's
that spot grows and grows. But the
spot,
front looks so perfect.
Yeah, sometimes the spot grows, but then just does like a Moses parting of the sea to your forehead, and then you have the kind of thicker Homer Simpson, which if you do look at, especially even pictures from the 80s, I look at pictures of like my mom's friends, there are guys that own that. They were like, it is clean up top totally, like an eclair.
Well,
but on the sides, it's like there's hair enough to comb.
It is a full...
It's an interesting look.
I have personally never seen this, and he was a white guy. What do you think I did?
I think that you called him out on it and then took him to task and made him answer, not just dismiss, but like, why don't you fix that? I know, but why don't you fix it?
By coincidence,
You're like an interrogator for the KGB. But you see it's a problem. Yeah. Why don't you fix your follicles? So
I was like, we were on this date. Now, mind you, I said multiple times, this is very funny. So I was like, so, you're the, like, I just want to make sure you're the age of like somebody who would have kids. And he's like, yeah, no. I had younger siblings. I felt like I raised them, and I'm like, I know you have kids, dude. Just say you have kids. And like, I just kept asking questions, and so I tell my Gaber this, and he's like, had it crossed your mind that maybe the kids died in a car accident or something? Like, you keep bringing up the kids. I was like, I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah, because he would still mention it. You don't say if you lost your kids, God forbid, you don't act like they were never there.
I go, do you still talk to your ex? And he's like, no. And I'm like, yes, you do, because you share 2 kids with her. But he's like not coming clean on this at all, which I actually had no problem with. You know how I am with, I don't care. If you don't own your kids, this was like a very low level concern. The hair was much more pressing. So he happens to say to me, he lives kind of far away. And so he came down and we had like this lovely date. Well, he said to me, I would love to see you again. I said, okay, well, like what are your plans this weekend? He's like, actually, I get my hair cut down here. I was like,
oh no.
So it was a perfect time to be like, have you thought about shaving your head? Because like, I really prefer a shaved head. And he was like, my hairdresser said, I'm losing my hair. You got to cut it while you have it. And I was like, you don't. You don't have it.
Also, that's not a reason. Cut it while you have it.
And I go, and by the way, he's very well off. I guarantee you this is not a cheap haircut. So like, this woman's going to cling to this client.
Absolutely.
And give him poor advice. But he would look great with plugs. He happens to be someone that has this like great, like the front of his hair is like really nice. But you can't have a full.
Why don't you send him a link to like, hair restoration place and be like, oh my goodness, I meant to send this to my dad. I'm sorry.
My hottest shit ex from Boulder got hair plugs. He really, his hair was not thinning that badly, but he got it done. And
why not get ahead of something that might be
especially if you have 10 G's to drop.
If you got it,
I know.
That's what it's for. Yeah, have at it.
I don't know. Honestly, in my next life, I'm going to be a salesman for that because there's nobody that sells more hair plugs than I do.
I feel like, yeah. That could be your side hustle. Some people it's Uber. Yours will just be like the middle person for shaming men into getting hair plugs. You just go, you are hot.
Or I'll sell clippers. It's one or the other. You know what I mean?
I like it.
I feel like that's the reasonable.
And I don't feel like that's. Also, you like what you like, and you were suggesting to him, here's something I think that would make you look better.
And I want to say,
if he didn't take it, he didn't take it.
I think I would see him again. I need to work out the hair situation. You guys know how I am. But he was like lovely in a lot of ways. I just was like, this is just a bizarre choice you've made.
Yes, but that's one. Have you not made any bizarre choices?
Yeah, actually, my hair dye job at the time is not great. Yeah.
50 miles from here. So
I was literally, I've been going to this color bar, and after the color, it's like an organic nonsense, which I doubt, I don't care about the environment. I don't even recycle. But I like thought it was easier to sign up for this color bar because I pay a monthly fee. I can go whenever I want. But my hair, after like being in the sun for a little, gets like brassy, and it looks like shit right now. And like, he could have been like,
I love it.
Oh, on the date, he could have been like, hey, Ronald McDonald. Like, but he didn't because he's more class than I do. But that's not,
I don't want this to be a deal breaker. So I want you to like call my man.
Yeah, but you know what the deal breaker is going to be is if he listens to this podcast.
Yeah.
That's going to be problematic.
Yeah, but if he can't take that, he can't take you long term.
Yeah.
But if he's still in the game, then this is your girl. She'd be the best time ever. But you got to like, everybody's not going to be perfect. And hey, will he probably love this? Absolutely not. But I feel like you would bring a lot more joy and fun to his life.
You guys, he said at one point, like, he lives in like a massive like house on a 2-acre, something like 2 acres, a lot of acres. And I was like, all alone? And he's like, yeah, I really like the solitude. I'm like, you have 2 kids that live there. Why don't you just tell me that? You are raising your children there.
Yeah, but it's 2 acres. I never see them. It's a very.
That's where the nanny is weird. On the other.
I guess you have to keep us updated on this.
I will.
This is very strange. And we talked before the show. We're pulling the curtain back a little bit about an Now Yelp review, but I had another idea, another segment that I want, because I never have a place to talk about certain things that pop into my mind, like funny things that have happened to me over the years. So I wanted to have a segment where maybe we'll have our swimmers title it, where I talk about crazy things that have happened on the road, specifically this week, bombing. And I started thinking about bombing because I started thinking about that weird story at Universal Studios. And I was like, oh, yeah, that regular place. And then it hit me about the worst bomb that I want to hesitate before I say ever, but I can't think of one. Well, that's worse than this.
Last episode, you gave us the worst one. It's worse than that? It's worse than the organizational notes?
Yes, it was definitely worse than the notes, and I'll tell you why.
How could it be worse than that?
Because I was bombing with stuff I had no business talking about. Your fault. This was my material. And this was material that worked to the point where, like, it works enough where, like, you just go in any venue, like, I'm going to smash it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I've done, even at this point, I worked enough where I was being called to do shows overseas as well, just fly in, do a show in, like, the Bahamas and fly back, because I lived in Miami. So this show was in the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, and I flew there. And it was a 2-night show. They were going to pay me really good money for, 4 shows total, one Friday, 1 Saturday. And so I get there, 1 Friday, 2 Saturdays, so 3 shows. And so I get there Friday night and get to the bar. To this day, the bar had one of the most beautiful people I'd ever. She was just this gorgeous bartender, really fun. She was like, "Oh, we're excited to have you." And I was like, "Yeah, I can't wait to start the show." And she's like, "And there's a special treat for you. The U.S. Virgin Islands' most famous comedian is going to open for you."
Why would that person open for you if they're the most famous?
Because I'm the big shot American.
Oh, I see.
And so, Friday night comes, 8:00, show starts, and the guy comes over to me before we get started, and he's like an older guy. He's probably mid-60s. He looked like a teacher looked in 1983. Red sweater vest over like a collared shirt, dress slacks, black loafers. Like, he looked like a professor. He should have been in front of like a fireplace. Uh-huh. And show starts, and he starts telling jokes. Because mainstream American comedy, at least, it's a lot of storytelling and, wordplay. So it's just like, I'm with my girl Corinne. We're at dinner. The waiter does this. I'm like this. Or remember I said this, and here's the thing you didn't see coming. That's American. Over there, their style of jokes is more like knock-knock jokes, but like in the form of long-form riddles. So
what?
So his first joke was something very similar, like, so I'm walking down the street, and I get to a bridge, and I see a frog, and I say, "Frog, move out of my way." And the frog says, "Nope, you got to go around." So I'm like, okay. So I go back home. The next day I come, I see the frog in front of the bridge again. I say, "Hey, frog, get out of my way." And then, the frog, and then so the third thing is, then I say, "Hey," and then the funny. This is their best. And he gets the punchline of whatever riddle that you could have.
Tears the house down.
Burned it down.
That's not my crowd.
Burned it down, and I was like, "Oh no,
no, dog."
I mean, people are doubled over, laughing at like jokes that like these are jokes because I've been obsessed with comedy my whole life. But I would get these are like funny riddles, like a man walks up to a water fountain and like that, some weird stuff, and so. The breakdown was he was supposed to do 15 minutes. I was going to do an hour, and it was going to be an hour and a half roughly show. And I'm looking at the clock. He's at a half an hour. I'm looking at the clock. He's at 45 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. Wait, what?
I'm looking at the clock. He's rounding in on an hour. The owner comes in. He's wrapping up soon. It was like they had all gotten together to punk me or something. So I go up to an audience that this dude has ripped apart.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that kind of stuff where, like, people are laughing so hard that, like, they're losing control of time and space, like knocking drinks over, laughing, killing. And I go up there, and my first joke was, this is back when I was a teacher. My first joke was about being a teacher. That joke has worked probably, no joke, 957 times. It's that joke works everywhere. It works everywhere. I tell this joke, and just
crickets.
Nothing. Then I panic, and I go to like another joke that was way further in my set that was a definite killer, and it was about me showing my students the Miracle of Life video about how a sperm and stuff. That was another joke. Just it killed.
Yeah.
And nothing. And now I'm starting to get some like low level grumblings.
Oh,
and
no.
I always say, when you're bombing, it's people think, because you watch movies, you think there's going to be somebody like, boo, get off the stage, and somebody throws a tomato. It's not that. That's not what bombing feels like. Bombing is when you start to feel like you're losing control of people's attention, and you start hearing low-level conversations.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you start hearing people, what's going on? I don't know. Do you want to go?
A lot of phone checking.
Just like, a lot of just like low-level, like you walked into a train station with like 500 people, but you can't make out any of the conversations. So I just bomb. I mean, nothing's working, and I'm just like, at one point I was just leaning against the side of the wall. So anyway, my wife, whatever. I was like, this is unsavable. I take just a hot one. I get off stage, and the crowd's filing past me, and just like, they don't say anything.
No one's buying merch from you.
I'm at the bartender with the super hot bartender. I was expecting to like kill it and then come back to her like, what's up? And so I'm just like sitting there. She's just cleaning glasses, and she's like, yeah, it was a rough one tonight. Hopefully, you'll do better tomorrow. I was like, oh yeah, I have 2 more of these tomorrow.
Oh God.
And she goes, oh, we should have told you. Here on the island, we're very religious, so any allusions to sex or drugs or, sex outside of your marriage or curse words are not accepted. It's considered, it's like you going into saying that.
Why would somebody not tell you that?
Because culturally, like I remember because I used to go to the Cayman Islands. I've been to Cayman Islands like 150 times because I used to work for Carnival. It's a stopover.
Yeah.
And people think of it as a party town because that's how you go there and that's how you experience it. You leave at 6 o'clock. And when the cruise ships leave, the town kind of shuts down because it's a very religious place. And I had never done a show. Yeah. I had never done a show like for the locals. So I didn't know local culture. I just assumed it was like Carnival Cruise Line culture.
Yeah. And tourists.
Yeah, exact. Drunken tourists, yelling at noon. And, so the next day I'm going through all my jokes, trying to find like clean jokes. And it's like, I got through the first 2 fine. But I will never forget that hour where every single joke that I had told, just like, it was just like sending like a little like paper plane up in the air, and then just somebody just shooting it down.
Yeah.
And it's just like everyone died a slow death. So every once in a while, I'll give you a bombing. Next up is a Carnival cruise.
Okay.
So yes.
I can think of a million times I've bombed, not as a comic, but just
bombing's bombing.
But yeah, like I love to storytell, and so like I would say the number one person that gets the hook and gets me off stage is Richard. So like I'll be pontificating. I'll like be trying to get everyone's like I'm telling a story, and it'll be like, how much Adderall have you had? Like he'll just ruin everything.
But he must know that this is like, I know Corinne thinks she's feeling it.
He knows how quickly to take me from the top to the bottom. And like, we're done now. Corinne, stop.
Like when you yelled at that baby at my party.
Yeah.
And yelled at him to talk and then accused him of being boring.
You got to get off the hook sometimes with me. All right. Let's give one email to
We are going to get these emails right now.
Because this episode is going to be accompanied by an after show on Patreon. And I have tons of things in my notes I didn't get to. So we're going to have a drink and get some more stuff. But I will give one email to the people.
Super excited about that. Emails are my favorite. I picked this one out because it's very unique. Yeah. So let's just kick this off.
Well, and tell the people, my safe word is moreadvice@gmail.com.
Yes.
Please write in. It's so much fun to go through your email questions, and we will get to all of them, and especially now that because we have Patreon. So
yes, and in our Patreon, a little sneak peek, we're going to be helping people with their Bumble profiles. So log on to Patreon, join the swim club, and see what we're talking about. And with that, Corinne,
go ahead. Give me. I
want to get in this email because I think it's nice. So I'm feeling positive.
Good.
It says, "Hey, Corinne and Al, I recently defended my dissertation. Shout out." And I wanted to share that in my dissertation acknowledgments, I thanked my safe word is more.
What?
Isn't this? Look at your face. Look at you. Yes. If you could see how happy she is. Dr. Morgan.
Oh my God, this is so cool.
And he says, I'll just.
Well, before I say that, are you sure this isn't a full dissertation on like the dismantling of society and the ethical problem of.
Yes, my title is called The Two People That Are Causing All the Problems.
Yeah.
No, I'll skim through the last paragraph of his dissertation, but it says, thank you to many others who have supported and loved me throughout graduate school. My besties, and we shout them out real quick, Chandler, Marissa, Ashlyn, Marissa, Hannah, and Katie and Mia, shout out. Hey, make sure they listen too, and I'll get to us because we're narcissists. And it says, thank you to my favorite podcast for always offering an escape. Drop your buffs, Giggly Squad. My safe word is more. And we appreciate it. And Rob has a podcast. So it really gave you the chills. What are you feeling right now? And I want to give him a shout out. I'll finish this statement. He says, Corinne, I've been a longtime fan and listener, and you are one of a kind. I tell you that all the time on the phone. I tell you that on the phone a lot. I appreciate you so much, and you inspire me to always be my most authentic self. Did I not text you this week? Okay, so I got two smart people telling you. Thank you for providing so much incredible content over the years. Al, I am so thrilled you and Corinne are on this podcasting journey together. In the 15 episodes I've listened to, I've enjoyed getting to know more about you and really appreciate your perspective on life, relationships, and friendships. Together, you two have such a dynamic chemistry that it draws me in and makes me laugh out loud. Cheers, and many, many more podcast episodes to come. Much love, Skylar J. Morgan, PhD.
Nice.
Yes. Woo-hoo! Shout out to School of Criminology and Criminal Justice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yo, so like you're in somebody's dissertation, Corinne.
So exciting. It's never happened before. This is my first time. I wanted to give you my phone because this reminded me of something I was going to say today.
And also Corinne just did, while you're looking for that, Corinne did that thing where when you're in a nightclub and everybody's being cool, but somebody's like getting close to you and you're like, hey, my phone's right next to you. Don't try and steal it. Yeah.
No. This because like, while you were saying that, I was like, so for the one person that's put me in their dissertation, there's 95,000 other fuckers sending me a ridiculously, like, I told you, like, people comment things all the time, and they're still sending me these fakakta messages about, am I sorry I said what I said to Sugar? I'm not sorry. Go Google that. I regret nothing. It's all over the internet. Anyways.
And a t-shirt we sell.
Yeah, so I get this message from somebody. Okay, I don't give a shit. This person's name is Baby Satan.
Okay.
They have 14 followers, and they replied to my story, which was actually a clip of our podcast. And they replied, God, you're annoying. And it just irked me. I wasn't having a great day today. And I just was like, not today, Satan. So I went to the profile and I noticed that he follows me. He or she, I'm assuming he. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. So he said, may I ask why you are following me then? Like, why would you follow the person that you had to message, God, you're annoying? Like, just why? Just
it's a fair question.
And also, like, I want to say that maybe I'm annoying to people, but I am the person that uploads a story very infrequently. I post like a new picture once a month. Like, we have a podcast, so I'm trying to promote the podcast, but I'm really not an annoying social media person. I don't spend a lot of time on it. He wrote, of course you can. And the answer is because I like following annoying things on the internet.
Okay, so then you like me. So when you said, God, you're annoying, you're telling me
was a
that I'm...
compliment?
Yes, because you're telling me I'm great. He said, I like following this specific thing. So when he says, you are this specific thing, he likes you.
Okay, what? He's using the wrong word. Annoying by virtue of the verb itself is something that bothers you.
Well, annoying is also, if you want to use it in a more general context, it's a feeling. And I think that a lot of people go to the internet. Some people go to the internet because they want to see, disgusting, kind of violent videos. But that gives them a feeling. Some people go to the internet and they watch reunions of like guys from the service that come home and surprise their kid at half court, and there's a big crying moment. Some people go for that.
I hate those videos.
But either one of those scenarios, you're providing the viewer with a feeling of like, the world is terrible. Look, people get killed all the time. Or look, there is some beauty in the world. But either way, whatever is happening on the screen doesn't mean anything. Both those people are receiving a feeling. Him seeking out things that annoy him gives him a feeling. Whether you and I want that feeling or you and I would look for a video to give us a feeling like that doesn't matter. That's what he does. He found you. He said, God, you're annoying. So you make him feel. And he, in a world where I'm sure he seems numb to a lot of things.
Well, his name is Baby Satan. So,
right.
Well, I just thought that was peculiar, but I guess that makes sense. I will tell you, actually. So I know I told her, I introduced you as a character on the podcast now. So Garen, you learned of her last week.
Love that name.
She listened to her little 5 seconds of fame and I said, do you want to make an IMDb page now? So anyways, we went for a walk, on Sunday and we both follow this girl, and I don't know how I know her at all, and I don't even think Garen knows how she knows her, but somehow we both know her. The girl is local to Denver. So at some point in some way, we individually, not together, cross paths with her. And we are obsessed. She's the most annoying content. And we just keep sending it to each other because she just can't stop, won't stop. And it's phenomenal. Maybe that's the same thing that this guy is doing.
Exactly.
Because, I truthfully, all day long, we're just sending shit back and forth. Like today, she uploaded a post of her in a bathing suit. Hot girl summer has arrived.
It's a very strange, and it's you know what that photo looks like? I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, like around 2009 when there were still flyers on car windows. And it will be like, come to Jungle Nightclub. And it will it will be a hot woman with her hair, kind of abstracting her face. And kind of like you could just maybe see her lips. And it's like, with DJ, come get some.
To be fair,
it looks like one of those photos.
She's in a bathing suit in her closet. It's not like she's on a beach.
Oh, stop. I thought, okay, this is why I thought about the flyer, because I thought those are like almost like almost like ancient writings, like it was like Club Temple or something.
Her hangers with her clothing on it.
Oh no! Okay, I thought it was a background. It's just her barely walking closet.
God help me, if she
okay.
listens to this.
I am already kind of.
You know what? She's so annoying.
But, okay,
she's constantly putting these quotes. Like, here, read that one. I don't even remember what it says.
Okay. Oh, I see what it says. It says, "Ladies, it's not the men in your life that count. It's the life in your men." I really don't like when people flip. They're like, but if you think about it, it's like, dude, it's so whack. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you settle for. I don't know. It's just like the two opening lines to Fast and the Furious.
What is this picture?
and it's a picture of her it looks like an elegant setting with her hand kind of limply sitting on her collarbone, like she's like she just found some people that don't make over 6 figures in her house.
It's a very,
and she's just like, ugh, what are you doing in here?
It's a very old-timey, like, soap headshot, like a soap opera headshot.
Yeah, it looks like The Great Gatsby, but like off-Broadway.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's very strange.
Yeah, I could go on and on. She's got the next one is, if they can't see your results on the outside, that's on you. If they can't see the results on the inside, that's on them. Valuable things take time and I have no idea what she does for a living. I don't know how I know her. Garen doesn't either. And the two of us are just like...
She puts the inverse of every saying on a new post.
Yeah. So anyways...
It's not the dog in the fight.
It's the
we got it,
of the
bro.
fight of the dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, on that note, I'm ready for my drink skis.
All right. Well, look, it's not about... you being ready for your drink. It's about is your drink ready for you. Okay? I learned a little something from that genius. You might laugh at her. I follow her teachings. And with that, guys, I will say this. It's not about the podcast that you choose. It's about if this podcast chooses you, and we do. And with that said, Corinne, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah. Well, it's My Safe Word Is More on Instagram. It's our Patreon is up and running. My Safe Word Is More. Everything's pretty easy to find.
Okay, you said up and running like it's an old steam engine.
Know. Well, listen, it was up last week, but not necessarily running. There is episodes loaded on. Every other episode, I'm going to stay and have a drink and do this. And then we'll put up interesting, fun content like my 15-minute stand-up routine, which is going up tonight.
Yes, that's going up tonight. And also, because you guys have been so patient, my break-in across the street will be up by the time you hear this. 100%.
Okay.
We love you guys. And you know why we love you guys? Because you guys do such a good job of remembering to keep your head above water.
And just keep swimming.
That's right.